In this lesson we're going to be taking a look at how to move positions within the pentatonic scale. At this point you might be wondering, do I just stay in one position? Well, the answer of course is no. It's more interesting to move around after a certain period of time. So let's take a look at where we can go to when the time is right. Let's take a look at the pentatonic scale going across the neck one more time before we learn how to go along the neck. The terms across and along will be used quite frequently during these lessons. The pentatonic scale, as I pointed out earlier, was made up of 5 notes, penta being Greek for 5. So let's start with note 1 on the 6th string and count that as note 1. This is note 2, note 3, note 4, note 5, and lo and behold, we get note 1 again here. And again, going across from here, this portion of the neck, we get note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get note 1, which is an octave higher A than this note here, and this note is an octave higher than this note here. Now what we're going to learn how to do is, so we can solo and get out of this mid-range position and move higher or along the neck, I'm going to show you a pathway you can take. Let's take a look at our original 3-note pattern. On the 7th fret, 3rd string, I hit the note again and slide to the 9th fret. Then my first finger, and the fingering is important here, goes to the 8th fret, 2nd string. Let's do that again. Slide, and then we complete the scale by hitting the high A or high root note on the 2nd string at the 10th fret. One more time. And if you watch me playing across the neck, you can hear I've hit the same notes, only on different strings when it came to that first string. Now from here, if you look very carefully, when I go onto the first string, you can probably recognize the 3-note original pattern that we used, only now it's being played an octave higher. Here would be our 4-note pattern, and just to refresh your memory, the double 2-note, and in reverse. And be very careful when bending this note for our high chord note. It's quite difficult to do on that first string. There's quite a lot of tension, especially if you have strings that are quite thick. But you can hear all the same phrases you've been familiarizing yourself with in the mid-range. Now let's see how we can come back from there. Start with our root note. Again, I'm on the 10th fret, 2nd string. First finger, 3rd finger on the 9th fret, 3rd string. We'll do a slide for effect, and then finish it off like that. One more time, I'll climb along the neck, onto the first string, throw in a bend for good measure. Another fingering possibility is to go first finger and slide that back. Word of caution though, try and avoid having your fingers trip over themselves. If you're playing a little faster, it's quite easy when your fingers cross over here to sometimes make some little mistakes, some little slips. Another problem often encountered when you start out is when you begin the slide, you may accidentally slide beyond the 9th fret to the 10th. That's a common little mistake people make. Let's take a look now at the two ways we can go to the bass strings across and partially down in the pentatonic. We're on the 7th fret, 4th string. Go down this way. Here's one pathway, which we took at the beginning of the lessons when we first learnt the scale pattern, and the other pathway, which was... Now we've got two choices here. We can either go to our first finger and move that back down this way, or we could go third and bring the third back. And if you want an extra note, which is still in the scale when you're down here, you can play this G. G to A. Now remember, just to point out, this G is an octave lower of the G we played here. It's one of our passing notes which we were using. Now, when is it time to switch positions? That's a good question. I would say, since you're soloing in the mid-range, we'll assume this is our start point. If you were soloing in the mid-range, there are, as we pointed out, three main chord notes to round your phrases off to. There was this one, and of course our bend. Now, as a general rule, and again, this isn't absolutely the law, it's not written in stone, but if you make up 3 or 4 nice melodic phrases, that is usually time when the listener or the audience would like to hear a shift in pitch. I'm just going to play a few phrases here, just by myself, without any backing, and you can hear how it sounds nice when I move. In this case, I'll move along the neck this way. We'll say that's one phrase. Another phrase. Now that provided quite a nice ear-pleasing shift in pitch. I could do the same thing going to the lower notes. Simple phrase. Phrase 1. Phrase 2. Phrase 3. And then I grinded out some lower bass tones. One parting bit of advice for your phrasing at the end of this lesson is when you're making up your solos and you're doing your melodic phrases, try not to fill every single dead space with a note, whether it's pedaling or constant playing. Try and let your solos breathe, and you'll be much more appreciated by your listener and yourself. Now I'm going to demonstrate the last part of the lesson where we're moving positions to a backing track.